Domain-driven design is a concept introduced by Ed Evans in 2004 in his book Domain-Driven Design: Tackling Complexity in the Heart of Software. It aims to center the development based on the domain system, which represents the business rules. Software systems can be divided into subdomains, each with its own functional purpose. DDD applies the divide and conquer paradigm to tackle complexity and identify the most critical parts of the system by treating them independently. DDD is a design strategy that follows several principles and patterns to facilitate the process of building software systems focused on the pure domain. Welcome everyone, let's take a look at some of the most relevant DDD principles. Bounded context is an isolated area of responsibility in the domain that defines a strong boundary to separate other parts of the system. It determines the model in which a particular model is strictly applied without interacting with different contexts. Ubiquitous Language. It's the common language used by developers, domain experts, and everyone involved in the development life cycle to communicate ideas about the domain system. It's the intrinsic vocabulary that is reflected in the development design. Each bounded context has its own ubiquitous language regarding discussions, models, and vocabulary. This principle is fundamental to prevent ambiguous, inconsistent terms from being used to specify business requirements and removes the error-prone vocabulary translation. Separation of concerns. It plays an important role in creating a well-defined structural design by dividing the whole domain into subdomains. This concept adheres to the single responsibility principle that applies to functions, classes, and modules. What are the key elements of DDD? Entity is a mutable class that contains business rules and has a unique identity within the domain model. The entity's identity is determined by its unique identifier, usually called ID or entity ID. DDD entities are focused on behaviors rather than attributes. In contrast, anemic models often have entities with little or no behavior, and all the domain logic is delegated to external services. The goal of DDD entities is to create a rich domain model based on these behavioral procedures. Value object is an immutable class that is defined solely by its attribute values. A value object identity depends on the combination of its values, so two value objects with the same values are considered identical. As immutable objects, they are side effect free because they don't alter the object's state. Aggregate root is a cluster of related entities and value objects treated as a single unit. It's the entry point for external objects to interact with. Domain service is business logic that is not naturally attached to any entity or value object. It belongs to the domain layer and encapsulates actions in a stateless manner. Repository is an abstraction layer that provides communication between the data persistence implementation and the aggregate roots to access and store the domain data. It's an important DDD concept because the domain model should be persistence ignorant. Domain event. It captures an occurrence within the domain. The interested parts of the domain will react accordingly to the triggered event. DDD is not a methodology or a set of rules that dictate how to build code. Instead, it's an approach that includes several principles, patterns, and techniques that can be applied to build complex software systems. What are the benefits of using DDD? Improved communication. Technical and non-technical members speak the same language. No ambiguity to express the system's intent. Unified vision. The software design is aligned with the domain problem, which ensures that the development process meets the actual business needs. Modularity. The division of the whole system into subdomains makes it easier to understand, change, and maintain each one independently. Leverage. DDD encourages different software strategies to build flexible, testable, and maintainable code. And the drawbacks. Learning co-op. Developers must have a deep understanding of the domain and business logic, in addition to the various software concepts involved. Complexity. DDD is focused on tackling complex business scenarios. Project members had to spend considerable time designing the system and defining the correct vocabulary to use throughout the project.
Easy to run. Effective communication among developers, domain experts, and stakeholders is crucial for DDD's success. It ensures that the development is aligned with the domain business.
If you want to learn more, don't forget to subscribe. May the code be with you.